Hi everyone, today I'm going to be looking at the OffGrid by Birdkids, which is a tiny MIDI controller with Bluetooth and motion controls. Today I'll be taking a look at the specifics of the features of this thing so you can determine whether or not it's something that would work in your setup. When I first saw this thing, I instantly knew I wanted it because it's striking minimalist design. I just think it looks really cool. I also like how small it is, so I can have some velocity sensitive MIDI pads on my desk at all times without taking up very much room. I don't really need something as big as something like the Launchpad X, when all I'm really doing is tapping a drum beat into my DAW every once in a while. So it turns out this small size and Bluetooth capabilities are actually great for traveling, and I actually did bring it with me while traveling to Big Bear Lake, California last week. And here's a video of that. Alright, let's go over the rest of the features so we can all go on our lunch break on time. Here we have a 4x4 grid of LED backlit velocity sensitive pads, a 2x2 grid of transport buttons being play, record, octave down, and octave up. There's two functionality buttons in the middle, which I'll go over in a second, and then there's a modulation joystick. So you got all four dimensions there, and then we also have motion control in all four of these ranges. Low latency Bluetooth, which is I'm not using right now because my computer has Bluetooth issues, low power consumption, and a rechargeable battery within the unit. So as for those factory presets, it's sort of complicated. There's 16 presets, but really only 4 categories represented by columns. So in the first column, we have instrument, then we have drums, then motion, then MPE. There's 4 variations of each mode going up with subtle differences I don't really understand. And the only ones I pay attention to are instrument and drums. So that's the first and the second one. Basically, the main difference is that when you're in instrument mode, the octave button shifts MIDI by 12 semitones. And when you're in drum mode, the octave button shifts everything by 16 semitones. If we're in a drum rack like here we are in Ableton, since we're in drum mode, which is the second column, pressing the octave will put us up above square perfectly in the 16 by 16 grid. If we're controlling an instrument, however, we'll switch over to instrument mode, and this bottom left corner button is always going to be C, no matter how many octaves up we go. Which means the same MIDI note is being triggered twice on the same pad with the top and bottom corners. The OffGrid has different scale layouts built in, and by default it's in C chromatic, which is represented here, the root note being the bottom left note, which is C, and then C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, etc. The OffGrid allows for different scale layouts built in. By default it's in C chromatic, which is represented in the bottom left corner, and each pad represents a different root note. And to change the scale, you'll need to hold down the bottom function button and then press the pad in the top right to cycle between all the available scales. And so if I press it once, you'll see all 12 buttons being lit means it's in chromatic, which is the first available scale. And there's a bunch, and I'll name them all. Major, minor, Locrian number 2, dominant diminished, minor harmonic, altered, whole tone, hexatonic blues, heptatonic blues, nonatonic blues, Lydian dominant, major bebop, minor bebop, Mixolydian bebop, Spanish Phrygian, enigmatic scale, Japanese mode, Kraftwerkian scales, Fearless 4 scale, Blade Runner blues, and chromatic again. I usually just use either major or minor, and you can cycle right and left using the top right and this button right next to it as the left button. So usually major or minor, and we'll go minor for now. And so for the joystick, you can see as I go left to right, it's controlling the volume of this drum loop here. And as I go up and down, it's controlling the dry wet of this reverb. So, and also as I turn the device from left to right, you can actually see the panning going left and right. So if I have it on left, which is sort of cool, I guess. Oh, and one last feature that it has, which is sort of interesting, is this buzzing instrument sound. So you can use the device when it's unconnected to anything, and there's a little speaker on the back, and as you push these buttons, you'll be able to hear some notes come out. Yeah, it's so quiet that you might not even be able to hear it. I guess it's an okay feature. So I really don't have a ton of things to say about this device. Basically, I bought it because it looks cool and it continues to look cool to this day. So really, I am happy with it. The ability to throw it in my bag and go traveling is great. The ability to hold it in my hands and walk around and play using my phone is also great. All in all, this is a really fun device that's definitely going to be coming with me on any medium to long-term trips that I go on. So I like the design, the size, the Bluetooth capabilities, the scales that it gives you, and the battery life, which is quite long. The things I don't like are the price and the reliance on third-party software, which you'll need to download to get it working both on Android and PC. Also, it came with a short USB cable, and I get it because that's mostly for charging. The joystick doesn't really add a lot for me. The motion controls don't really add a lot for me. It's a little thing that is nice and is a kind of important part of the identity of this thing. And really, I just need something that's just convenient like this thing is. So that's my short review, and I am going to sign off now. Thank you for watching. This has been Gabe. I'll see you on the next one.